I want to go now to special guest joining me. It's Denise Cox. This is Susan's sister. Her nephews died in the fire set by their father, Josh Powell, and it was just this Saturday night that she tucked the little boys into bed. You know, Denise Cox, number one, myself and our staff have been praying for you and your family and Susan and these boys since we heard this horrible news last night. I've got 2 children, and I can't imagine what happened to the 2 little boys. And I know you are suffering. Also, so many things unfolding, so many facts unfolding about Susan's disappearance. What can you tell us, Denise?
Actually, the boys at first, when my parents received custody of them, they didn't talk that much. But over the last few months, they started opening up and talking to my parents about what happened that night. My parents would relay it back to me. When I was with the boys, spending time with them, they would ask me questions about their mom, which they were not allowed to do around their father or his father. They weren't allowed to talk, even mention my sister's name when they were living with their dad, and they were really excited to hear the stories I would tell them about her.
You know, Denise, what kind of stories would they want to hear about their mother?
Things she liked to do. I would tell them about, we spent Christmas with them this last year, and I would tell them on how my sister and Susan and I would sneak into my parents' bedroom and unwrap our presents and wrap them back up so we would know what we were getting, so we knew how to be excited for it the next, on Christmas Day. And because the boys would ask me what they were getting for Christmas, and I, being the devious aunt I am, I told them how their mom and I found out. And maybe not the best thing to tell them, but they really enjoyed hearing how excited their mom was about Christmas and how much she loved the holidays.
Denise, what were they beginning to say about the night your sister went missing?
From what I gather from my parents talking to me is they said that Mom went to go look for crystals, and she went into a mine to look for crystals, and she never came out. And I've heard them, they pointed to a picture of a woman and pointed to her chest and said, "Mommy Owie."
What, if anything else, did they say about the night Susan went missing, that camping trip, that so-called camping trip? Was Mommy on the camping trip? Did Mommy go on the camping trip that Sunday night at midnight at 14 degrees outside?
From the story that's out there, it was that she was in the trunk of their van, and Daddy took Mommy out to go look for crystals, and Daddy came back, but Mommy did not.
With me, special guest, Susan's sister, Denise Cox. Denise, tell me, how are Susan's parents doing?
Not good. Not good at all. They've shut themselves off, and they're going to stay away from everything. They said they want to be alone for a few days and grieve, be able to grieve by themselves and alone. And they're not really coherent right now. They're still in shock.
Denise, I know that this may sound cliche to you. I've been the victim of a murder when my fiance was murdered. And I thought, oh, there could never be a greater pain than that until I had children. I want to hear your thoughts on the day after. What is in your mind and in your heart?
Well, myself, I have 4 children, and I don't know how I'm going to explain this to my younger children. Their ages 6 and 8, and they don't quite understand where their cousins are. They wanted to play with them yesterday, and I one of them said that Susan was or the Charlie and Braden were in heaven with their mom, and
Denise,
my older kids
why
were
did
really
he do
close.
this? Why?
To regain control over what was going on. He was very controlling.
What do you mean by that?
I had to call her when I wanted to talk to her on the phone when I thought he would be out so we could talk about whatever we wanted to. Otherwise, we had to watch what we said to each other.
Why? What would he do?
He would hang up the phone on me.
He would take the phone away from her and hang the phone up on you?
Yeah.
How were the boys
he didn't like her
responding
talking.
to their visitation with him? I know that they were becoming agitated when they would be with him.
The boys really, once they started opening up to our family, they started closing down on their dad.